Welcome to Greystone Capital Group, where we invite you to embark on an extraordinary journey towards a life of abundance and fulfillment. At Greystone Capital Group, we specialize in the transformative power of passive investing in commercial real estate. Your journey to financial freedom and a fulfilled life begins right here. Subscribe now and let Greystone Capital Group be your guide to shaping a brighter tomorrow.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this show. Today we have wonderful guest Hannah Hammond, and welcome to the show, Hannah.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Happy to be here.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit your background, how you got started in commercial real estate.
Yeah, so I was raised in a family that didn't have a lot of money. My
Yeah.
father worked at a pawn shop and still works at a pawn shop. And so I was
Yeah.
super motivated from 7 years old to build wealth and freedom. And I did research and read books, and everything pointed to real estate investing and entrepreneurship. So I was pretty determined right away to get into that
Yeah.
space,
Yeah.
and ended up finding Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
And I read that book and I was immediately hooked on real estate. So I, made it through high school, got my real estate license as soon as I turned 18. Just a normal, residential real estate license, went to a residential brokerage, held an open house in my neighborhood in the middle of summer, which is off season here in Arizona where I
Yeah.
live, and got $1 million commercial listing from the only person that showed up. So that was my very first deal, and I was 18 years old, and it gave me the taste, and I never looked back.
Nice, nice. Yeah, Rich Dad, that was my inspiration to my first book when I was maybe in my 20s, and it got me started excited in the journey. And talk about good debt versus bad debt, and I started looking into more real estate because that's his book about real estate and buying more real estate. So right.
Yeah, it's assets versus liabilities.
Yes,
Increase your
yes,
assets, let them pay
yeah.
for liabilities.
Yeah, so it's very, yeah, very similar sort of catalyst where now you're a good friend with the author, which is Robert Kiyosaki, right? The author. You seem like you're good friends with him, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, we're great. We're great friends. I never could have imagined him being my friend one day. But we
Yes.
actually live like 5 minutes away from each other, so we get to see each other very
Uh,
often. Yeah, it's
oh, that's probably why, because you're neighbors and you saw him. Oh, he happened to be there, right? So
yeah, yeah, we're neighbors.
interesting. Oh, yes, great, great, yeah, and so that's great. So you did in 18 years old, it's very, very young. Like you think about your trajectory, you're fairly young when you got into real estate, which is awesome. Because your time is there's more time on your side. Whereas you start in your 30s or 40s, then time is less, right? So
Right, exactly. It definitely helps. I still own a lot of assets. I'm for the first time selling some just because it makes sense for tax purposes and things like that. But it's tough once you if you can buy and hold, then always hold, right? Because you
mhm.
can cost seg these properties, cost segregation and depreciation, and that helps so much with taxes. I can't even imagine what I would do without that. I pray to God that it gets reinstated and doesn't keep getting phased out, because I don't know what we'll do if that happens. But yeah, it's been really a great journey, and it's been nice to see. I remember buying my first condo. It was $76,900. I was scared out of my mind to buy it. It was, the only money that I had. I had no idea what I was doing.
Mhm.
I had a very scarcity mindset just from my dad and the people that I was around. So I ended up in the very beginning, I was only cash flowing that property like everyone, a couple $100 a month or whatever. And
Mhm.
pretty quickly after, it just continued to increase. I did furnished rentals with it, and I've been cash flowing a couple thousand a month on that thing for
Great.
a decade, and then it's tripled in price since I bought it.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful. So you get the idea of furnishing it and maybe doing either midterm or short-term rental, which is increases your cash flow more, right? Because it's more like there's more short-term rentals, you can charge a higher price. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did midterm, so it was low management but high price, and it worked out
Hmm.
really good. And I kept doing that until I really started getting into more of the commercial, investing space. But I always encourage people, if the option is either don't get started or save up, yeah, or I mean, get started now with something small like a residential home or something like that. Like in my case, it was a condo,
Hmm.
versus wait 10 years to save up enough money to go buy a massive multifamily property or something,
Yeah.
it's always good to get started, and you can always sell 1031, compound your profits into a bigger asset. And if you make good decisions and you buy right, you can build your wealth very quickly and get into the bigger commercial assets pretty quickly. If you do make the right decisions.
So you have done single family, you rent out midterm, that's great. It's wonderful. I love that you did that at a really young age. So now what else have you have done in your journey?
Yeah, so now I'm actually doing more, now I'm starting the fund. I started to get more into the lending space and the debt side of
Yeah.
things. I do own a real estate brokerage, commercial and residential brokerage here in Arizona. So I have a team. We broker lots of commercial real estate, some residential real estate as well. And then we have the private lending. Everything I've always done has been around real estate investments and investors. So we
Yeah.
really investment sales. So we can help find the properties for our clients, sell the properties for our clients, and then also finance the deals when they find them, because they need to get quick cash, and they're
Yes.
usually, mismanaged or vacant, have vacancies, need capex, things like that. So it's been a really fun journey to kind of shift over to the debt side of things too. It's just more liquid capital, and it's just fun. It's the other side of the coin, but still investing in commercial assets to continue to get the tax benefits and that long-term wealth preservation and
hmm
building.
Yeah. So one thing I learned when I do this podcast and interview guests, one thing I learned when I asked a really like a billionaire, like the mindset, I said, what do you know first in your portfolio? What would you do if you go back in time? And they said there's no perfect allocation, but what I would know is the capital stack more, and I would invest in different pieces in tranche of the capital stack, meaning that they want to invest in a debt fund, they want to do equity, but have that portfolio kind of in each sector, preferred equity, this and that, so that will help grow the portfolio and help give them the return. So be balanced in that sense. You understand that? That's what I learned
Yeah.
when I heard that from their advice.
Yeah,
That's
I think
great.
that's great advice for sure. It's
Yeah.
nice to not have all your eggs in one basket. I mean, it's all like, for me, most of my investments are vertically integrated in the world of real estate, but they're not
hmm
all necessarily in one asset class and one strategy. I think it's really good to diversify.
hmm hmm And so in commercial real estate, you have a debt working on a debt fund. And what else do you have? Anything else in commercial real estate you're doing?
Yeah, just my own investments, and my partner has a large storage facility fund, so we develop and value add storage facilities and mobile home parks in the Northeast. And then the debt fund will be raising capital here pretty soon, just getting the fund off the ground. I've just been lending my own capital for the past handful of years, and then
hmm
the brokerage is just here locally to Arizona, whereas the debt
Okay.
fund is and the equity fund are national. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now, and just launching my podcast called Relentless.
Okay.
Robert was my first guest, so that'll be
Okay.
dropping in December, first week of December.
Okay.
And then
Nice.
I'm just trying to work on a book as well, which is not about real estate. It's more just my personal
Okay.
life and stories. Yeah.
Okay, great, great. And let me ask you, in your journey, what kind of lessons you learned you can share from your experience to the audience?
I think just fail forward. The biggest thing that has held me back is just fear. I've had a
hmm
lot of fear from not having a plan B, or not wanting to lose it all and have
Yeah.
to restart or go bankrupt or something like that. So I think it's done well for me because I did take very conservative risks. I
Okay.
never put myself in a position to lose everything because I had so much equity. I was putting a lot of down payment. I was using my own capital to finance, the rehabs and things like that. But yeah, just be willing to take the risk. It's okay if you're afraid. Just have the courage to take action, because that's your best teacher. Like, there's only so much you're going to learn from reading a book or watching YouTube. You really have to
hmm
get out there and do it. And if that means finding the right partner who has experience,
hmm
then I think that's a great thing to do. And just getting started. You don't
Yeah.
need, like, even when I started lending, I started with $40,000. I
hmm
did a $40,000 loan, and people were like, "Oh, you can do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just went to a market where I knew properties were cheap, and that's Ohio and
Yeah.
Oklahoma and those types of places." So I think that's a big one. Also, just um, focusing on relationships. I, in the beginning, I had a lot of like just internal self-worth issues, anxiety issues, depression issues. And so I very much isolated myself, and I just worked like me, myself, and I, and the
Hmm.
only relationships I had was to authors through books that I didn't
Yeah.
know in person.
Yeah.
And it was a very lonely, very scary, very dark journey
Yeah.
that could have been way better if
Yeah.
I would have put my mental health and my physical health first. That's another lesson, is prioritize you before your ROI, before your
Yeah.
income. Because I always thought like, oh, if I go to the gym, I don't have time, like I'm going to miss out on client opportunities, or I don't have time on this, or I'm going to get behind on this. But in all reality, the poor condition of my health all around held me back tremendously from being able to grow and scale my companies. And so once I started to prioritize that, because I just couldn't do it anymore, I was at rock bottom. Uh, and then I got healthy, and then I started to feel better about myself. And then I started to go out and build relationships with people and go into the masterminds and go to the conferences. And that, that's where I met you.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
just over the past few years, when I started to prioritize my relationship to myself, very first thing, and my health, and then my relationship to others, over just getting the tasks done and just grinding it out on my own. And it's huge. So I definitely would recommend
Yeah.
that to anybody, is
Yes.
prioritizing the
Hmm.
relationships.
Hmm. I see. So you were trying, I guess you had poor health, and it was hurting you, and you couldn't go forward because you weren't focusing on yourself, and that was one of the things that held you back, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. So how'd you overcome that? You just eat better, or how do you overcome your health?
Well, it was a process. It's been
Okay.
a long journey. But what I did is, the first step is, a lot of that started when I was in college. I isolated. I didn't live on campus. I lived alone. I didn't go to class. I only showed up for exams. So I was just very, very lonely. And
Oh,
I, was very insecure. I had an eating disorder. So I was just super insecure. Couldn't really build real connection with anyone because I just didn't have any connection with myself either. And then I ended up going to work as an engineer for CAT, which gave me kind of a sense of purpose, and got me around people. And I started to realize like, oh, I actually like people. I like to be around people. Like, they're not all bad. And
yeah.
they're accepting of me as I am. So that kind of started me, just got me out a little bit. And then, I started working. I actually got prescribed Wellbutrin, which is an anxiety medication. And that literally was the catalyst for all the change for me. It was the
Yeah.
bridge for me to be able to have the, confidence to start going to the gym and start not having such extreme social anxiety, so I could actually go to rooms filled with people and actually talk and communicate. I know you see me as like the super extrovert, but I used to be an absolute nightmare, like mess of a
Really.
introvert.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that really helped. And so I'm a big advocate of that. Like, if you need help and you feel that you have problems that are holding you back, like social anxiety or anxiety in general, or depression, or addictions,
Hmm.
it, like, you just got to get help, because just trying to do the same thing every single day and thinking that tomorrow is a new day, it doesn't work. It's never going to change. And so I let that go on for way too long.
Really.
And then once I really, went and sought help, and I started therapy, and I hired a personal trainer. So there was no excuse. Like, I was paying for it. I prepaid for my trainer. So no matter what, I was going to the gym. And
Yes.
that just continued to grow. And then my income continued to grow exponentially. And then I was able to use that income to continue to build my networks through getting into, like, pricey masterminds that have
Yeah.
amazing people in them.
Yeah.
And conferences, and just continuing the relationships that way.
Great. That's great. I love that because I can't tell you're introverted or very lonely. That's very hard to tell. When I first met you, I said, no, you no way you. It doesn't sound like you.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like
Yeah.
you.
And it's when I'm good, like when I'm in a good state of mind and I feel good inside and
Yeah.
about myself, I am extremely extroverted, and I love to be around people 24/7. Uh, like-minded people. But when I start to spiral downhill, I isolate right away. It's like I just recluse myself, and then everything just starts to go in the wrong direction. My income starts dropping, my
Really?
body
Wow.
starts I start
Right.
gaining weight. My anxiety starts going up, and it's just like it's just a domino effect. So,
Wow.
yeah, prioritizing my health is at the forefront of everything now. Like I meditate 2 to 4 times a day.
Yeah.
I do breath work daily. I do therapy with a very, very good therapist. Every week I do, plant medicine journeys to really like go into another level of consciousness. I do a whole bunch of different things to always be working on myself, and just making sure I'm in peak, like my peak state, so I can perform the best and show up the best for
Hmm.
others as well.
That's great. Yeah, I think meditation, raising your level of consciousness to, ideally you want to go to the higher dimension, the fifth dimension, they call it. And if you can get to there, then you're in a good state of consciousness where you can be more aware and see that, hey, ultimately there's a love energy, a light energy that's positive, and that'll resonate, and you do very well and you're successful. That's why it's very important to meditate, is to cultivate your spirituality and then move up your consciousness higher so that effectively you can do well and be radiant like a sun.
Yeah, and I interviewed Jamil Damji. He's a big residential guy. He's well known in the United States. But anyway, I interviewed him yesterday, and we were talking about, connection and frequency and energy and all of these things. And
Hmm.
it's crazy because he was talking about how your energetic, like your waves from your body extend out 11 feet, and that,
Wow.
so you really truly repel or retract everything in your life. And your world is exactly what you are. It's not like what you want to be. It's what you are and who you are. And so the higher frequency you operate on and the higher level of consciousness that you are in or become, that's going to be your world, because that's what you're going to continue to attract into your life. And it's just physics.
Yes,
He
yes.
went all into the molecules and how you could separate sodium and chlorine and blast them to separate like
Oh, wow.
directions of the world.
Wow.
And even though they are blasted to separate directions of the universe, if one of them is destroyed, the other one is immediately destroyed outside of space and time. So like connection is a real thing, outside of anything else. Like they're, opposite ends of the universe, and they're still connected molecules.
Wow. Yes, yeah. It's very important. I'm very glad you do that, Hannah. I didn't know that about you. I'm glad you do these breath work and these things. It's really good that you do this. Now, did anyone teach you how to do that? You learn, or how's that work?
Yeah, I think as I've elevated myself, I'm always seeking more, right? Because I realized that the easy answer for my lack of fulfillment was always, I just need more money. I must just need more money. Because as a kid, I thought that if I had money, I would be happy and I would be able to, have the life that I wanted to live. And to a certain level of income, that is true. But you get to a certain point, and from 10 million to 50 million, or 50 million to 100 million, or whatever the numbers are, it doesn't bring you any more happiness.
No.
And so that's when I started to really like, okay, let me step back. I know how to make money. I know how to invest in real estate. I figured that part out. Let me step back and see what else there is in this life, beyond just setting another financial goal, because I just think that that's just the first step on the journey to self-actualization, which is where
Yeah.
I want to go. And so,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
I think I just learned slowly. I had an energetic intelligence coach that someone brought to me. I attracted him into my life, and he's the one that taught
Good.
me about energetic intelligence and like really being in tune with your energy and how all of that works. And then he taught me about meditation and breath work. So that kind of planted the seed. And then I joined Genius Network, one of the amazing masterminds I'm in, and they're all about just being your highest, living to your highest potential.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of, therapy, breath work, all of that stuff, meditation. And I've seen a direct correlation, and everyone I know at that level has a very direct correlation between the amount of time they spend on themselves each day and the amount of money in their bank account.
Really. Yeah. I really believe that because I even hired a somewhat of a mentor or coach who went to Sedona in your home state. We
Yeah.
did like a meditation group session in Sedona for 2, 3 hours, breath work. He taught me breath work. He taught me to connect with the higher self. in the beautiful Sedona in the back of the woods. Really nice. And it was evening. It was really beautiful. And it helped me kind of understand and tune myself into nature. And when you're in that kind of environment with high energy frequency vortex and everything, it's like you can feel the energy there. You feel that it's alive and that it can help you, you know, boost your spirituality over there. So have you ever
Yeah.
been to Sedona? You've done that?
Yeah, yeah. I actually just did a retreat with EO, Entrepreneur Organization, another organization I'm a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I don't know, 2 months ago. It's like it's a very healing place. There's a ton
Mhm.
of energy vortexes there, and it's so crazy because I'm an engineer. Like I'm so logical, black and white. I never in a million years would have thought that these things would be coming out of my mouth,
Yeah.
and but it's changed. Like I feel like I have changed. The molecules in me have changed inside and out 15 times over throughout my life. And
Wow.
it is so true. And the more I research it and actually see the science and data behind energy and the physics that goes behind it, I mean, it's just a crazy existence is an absolutely unexplainable thing. And I think we know very little. Like we
I
know
know.
nothing.
I
Yeah.
know. I think we know very little, and people have to open their eyes more and see that there's higher level consciousness,
Hmm.
and there's a realm out there that we can't see, even though we can't see and touch it, but it's out there. And I think it's a little more open in your state, like Sedona, in those areas, a little more open to these kind of local, I guess, new age or something. It's more open to these kind of concepts, you know. So that I know of. 'Cause when I go there, I see a lot of people have tattoos. Like a lot of women have tattoos in the arm. Like, wait, why do they have tattoos here? But I think they're more like in tune to these kind of things. So yeah. So that's
Yeah.
great. That's awesome, Hannah. Great that you do that. You're a great organization. So the tip is join masterminds, have coaches and mentors, partner someone who's really experienced so it can take you ahead and grow. And that's how you grow in your life. And what do you want? There's abundance. You just think of abundance and your energy, you raise higher and higher. The more you give out positive vibes, the more you get back and you attract kind of like the right people in the right mindset. And when you're in that sort of that mindset, mastermind like people, you can accelerate, help each other grow to a higher state. Would you agree?
Exactly. That's
Yes.
exactly right. Yep. And
So,
it's beautiful. And I would never go back to that lonely place of just trying to do it on my own. And I think it's especially difficult with men because men naturally, they're taught to be strong and not to
mhm.
show weakness and, not to fail and be tough and don't cry and suck it up and all the things. And I think it's more difficult for them to connect to themselves and connect to others just because of the culture and the society that they've been raised in here in the
Mhm.
US. And
Yes.
and they're also like it's harder for them to ask for help or ask for partnership and things like that, whereas for me I don't have that kind of ego or fear or whatever blockage. I am very willing to go ask like, hey, I need help, or what did you do, or what, tell me about
Mhm.
this, or can I get involved, or let's go out, or how can I help you, all those
Yeah.
things. And so I just encourage, especially, there's so many men in business and now there's becoming a lot more women in business, but just really focusing on the connection there. And you have to become connected to yourself first before you can become connected to others. And I, recently just got out of a relationship and with my partner. We're still partners and best friends. But I told him after we went to a Gabor Mate workshop. Gabor Mate is like one of the most renowned therapists in the world, like about connection, attachment, healing, trauma, all that. And I was like, I told him, I was like, you don't even know who you are. You're not even connected to yourself. And I don't feel
Yeah.
connected to you at all. And I can't because you have to, you have to heal first and you have to become reconnected to yourself first and not, not just be a workaholic that's just living in the logical brain and kind of outside of the body. Right. So we've
Mhm.
been kind of going down that journey on our separate journeys, but it's critical. Like you got to do it. You got to connect to yourself first because you're never going to be able to have real connection and real relationships with other people if you're not.
Yes, that's very, very critical. I'm glad you share that. And that's one of the gold nuggets where you connect together first, then you connect with others. You make your relationships with others. I mean, if you just do it and then there's no connection and he don't even know who he is, he's lost, and then he don't feel no sense of purpose. He don't know who he is, and then that kind of lower vibration will affect your higher vibration, so they'd be kind of not in tune, and that's the issue. And that's why you have to separate because you want to be like-minded, more positive, more love. So you gotta go higher and higher. So That's
Yeah.
that's effectively what happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
So awesome. That's great. And anything else you want to share? Any other lessons you learned?
No, I think that was good. Yeah,
Okay.
there's a nice connection session of the day.
Okay,
But yeah, I
good.
appreciate you having me on the show.
Okay, thank you, Hannah, and I appreciate it. And how people reach out to you, want to connect with you.
Yeah, so at Hannah B. Hammond is my Instagram handle, and I manage my messages on there. So all my other links to all my other businesses and pages and LinkedIn and everything is through that channel. So just do that, or pretty much all my accounts is at Hannah B. Hammond, and you can find me.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.